So what I want to talk to everyone about today is concepts of reinforcement, and I want to make sure we highlight this before we get into our physical exercises. And I do believe this is part of the value add that you're going to receive from watching these training modules as opposed to just watching resources online. There's a very fine line between bribing and rewarding your dog, and it's all about timing. So I want to ensure that everyone who is engaged in this training is being very thoughtful and mindful of rewarding their dog for good behavior and not bribing them to get it. And this is where understanding concepts of reinforcements and utilizing them to your advantage is going to make you a more effective trainer and handler. Now, a lot of people don't realize, but there's 4 quadrants to reinforcement. You have positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. We hear those words and we develop our own concepts. For our purposes today, we are just going to speak about positive reinforcement. That is what we're going to be using very heavily in our training modules. But so you understand, positive doesn't mean what we think it does. So we hear positive, negative, that must mean good or bad. It does not. Positive means the introduction of something. Negative means the removal of something. So what we are doing today, as I said, positive reinforcement, is the introduction of something to reinforce a behavior. And I tell everyone, food is king, so we are going to be using our treats, and we will use them very generously and liberally. However, as I mentioned before, there is a fine line between using that to reward and reinforce a behavior as opposed to just bribing your dog and getting stuck having to have treats on you at all times. Another tool that we use to help us be able to reinforce behaviors effectively and allow us to phase out treats later on is a clicker. So it makes a sound like that. And the clicker, what I want you guys to think of is, imagine you're in school back in the day, and maybe you guys are not as old as me, but back in the day, you know, you were in a spelling bee or a math bee or whatever, and you did something good and you got a gold star. Because of our conditioning, that gold star is really meaningful, and it means you did a good job. And you're gonna try to do that same good job, great job again, so you can get that gold star again. Like I said, product of our conditioning, a gold star is absolutely meaningless if you think about it. It's like a shiny foil, little star-shaped thing, and you stick it on yourself or wherever. Meaningless, but like I said, through time, we start identifying that as a big reward. The clicker begins to function similarly, because what we're going to do is, through similar conditioning, we're going to click, reward, click, reward, click, reward. So now your clicker precedes the reward. When your dog hears it, your dog is going to say, oh, that's a good sound. Every time I've heard that sound, I've gotten something good afterwards. So the clicker allows you to have this channel of communication that says to your dog, you got it, good job, right in the moment. And then later on, we can phase those rewards, those food treats out, because we don't want behavior to just be occurring because there's food in my back pocket at all times. However, we'll get into this more when we do more of our puppy training modules, but especially early on in your training cycle, you want to be prepared to reward at all times. So you should have food rewards on you at all times. Does that mean you use them at all times? No. You are going to leave that up to your discretion. As you get to be a better trainer and handler, you're going to know what type of behaviors deserve rewards and what you can just acknowledge with a simple click, or when I don't have my clicker on me, I give a little high pitch yes, like that. So you might hear me doing both as I'm going through the exercises. And I joke with all my clients, like male or female, you can get that pitch up real high. I've heard my male clients do it even better than some of my females. So again, use that little yes as your reward marker when you don't have the clicker, but you do want to ensure you are giving that reinforcement. You are telling your dog, yes, that was correct, that was a good job, as often as possible throughout training and throughout their lives, really. Your dog could be 3, 4, 5 years old. They're put in a new situation and they have to do something that's difficult. Why wouldn't you say that was right, that was a good job, right? We look for acknowledgement, appreciation, recognition throughout our lives at any age, especially if we do something that's hard. Think about your dog in the same way. Doesn't matter what age they are, they do something that you realize is difficult for them to achieve. They really impress you. Whatever it is, whatever it looks like, don't be afraid to do something that says that was a good job. So now we will get into our exercises. I'm gonna go grab Teddy, and he's gonna demonstrate to you how to do some of the initial exercises we'll shape, but we are gonna go through it with a couple of different dogs so that you can also see the progression, because some of these behaviors will be easier to shape than others depending on your dog, and I want you to be able to see what that looks like when it isn't so easy.